am back in New Jersey, taking advantage of the sunshine and another walk on the beach. Oh, I should set my watch for, hang on. I always set my watch just so I can easily look at my heart rate to stay in my zone 2. And, you know, today on my 14-year Carniversary, March 9th of 2009, was when I became aware of this, at the time in my mind, very strange, unusual way to eat. And I jumped in. I said, I'm all in. Nothing has worked up till this point. I don't know if this is healthy, but I can figure it out along the way. So, dove deep, cold turkey, and now 14 years later, I like to feel that I am at least one example of this way of eating, this way of life, being sustainable and healthy, and to maybe motivate or inspire somebody else to at least give it a try and see where it can get you. I know for me and for many people who come to this and love it and are in disbelief that actually eliminating all these other foods, including fruits and vegetables, is actually healthy, and that we're not getting gout, we're not getting scurvy, my blood work is good. You know, in that topic, which is so often brought up as people's reason why they feel they could never do it, I so often hear, wow, I love meat. Boy, could I ever do that. But no, my cardiologist would never go for that. And then I either bite my tongue, depending on who it is and where I am and what the situation is, or I say, wow, you know, people are actually reversing heart disease and getting off their hypertensive medications and seeing improvements in their blood work. And the real zinger is when I say, you know, I can name 4 cardiologists right now who eat this way. And if that isn't a testimony to the fact that this is not going to damage our heart and cause early demise, I don't know what is. I say, you know, these intelligent cardiac physicians are not taking their own heart health lightly, nor do I. And, you know, I will put down in the notes below on this little walk that I'm going on here and video that the ratios that you want to just look at. If, you know, I know for me, I got to the point, I didn't do blood work for many years. I did it at the beginning, the first few years, because I was like, wow, I don't think this could be something I want to look at, but all I know is it's resolving my binge eating and my carb addiction, and I'm feeling great, I'm sleeping great, but it was normal and it was great. So, in the words of Charles Washington, who was my original mentor, what use do I have to test my blood? Once you get to the point where you're convinced that this is an amazing, got a tractor here coming by, this is an amazingly healthy way to live. I have no thought whatsoever that my body is going to heal from so many things, yet attack my heart or screw up my blood panel of triglycerides and HDLs and LDLs. And you know, part of when I talk to people who are so concerned about that, I say, you know, you're going to look at ratios, and I'm going to tell you what ratios we're shooting for. And I'm going to tell you that, you know, for somebody who is very overweight, let's say you've got 40, 80, 100 pounds to lose, your blood markers are going to be a little topsy-turvy anyway. You know, you're losing body fat. It's going to change your blood chemistry. Don't test for a year. You know, some people panic, and like every 3 months they're running in and trying to look at things and trying to convince themselves either they have to give this way up or not. Or I think you really have to just think about that. You have to look at the whole picture. That's really what it is, and take comfort in looking, you know, and I'm not saying ignore your blood work. You know, do it each year for a little bit. I only do it more so now, partly because others are really interested, because you know, I've been doing this for so long. The other thing too that gets very frustrating for me is seeing some pretty big influencers talk about how this crazy restrictive diet is not healthy long term, and how it will mess up your thyroid or mess up your hormones or totally you know, screw up your electrolytes, and you got to start eating carbs, and you have to be metabolically flexible. And I just think it's all hogwash. I think that, you know, my thyroid is perfectly normal. My liver enzymes are normal. Everything is in the normal range. My BUN sometimes is just 0.1, 0.2 out of normal range. But who's to say what, you know, who made those ranges, and were they based on people who eat the standard atrocious diet? I don't know. All I know is I'm trusting that, having removed all the inflammatory, toxic sugars, grains, seed oils, processed foods out of my diet, and for me, additionally, eliminating fruits and vegetables, I have no reason to believe my body is headed toward disease. I don't believe it. I'm 58. I feel fabulous. I have I just tested my blood pressure, which I just do every so often out of curiosity, but I think it was 105/67 the last time I took it, and it just becomes I don't know, it's not, well, let's put it this way. So it's like if my BUN is a touch out of range, what am I going to do differently? Am I going to start adding some salad? Am I going to throw in some Brussels sprouts? What am I going to do? Am I going to add some raw dairy? What am I going to change? I don't know. I don't know the answers. And a lot of times I will tell people in my coaching groups, I say, you know, there's no manual for this. We just have to, you know, when you look out at squirrels and chipmunks and wolves and tigers and eagles and whatever, you know, whatever you see out there, just here. I'm watching this amazing seagull. He's going to come by in just a second. Is he? Oh, there. He cut in over the water. He's going to go dive down and get a fish. Is he worrying about his insulin sensitivity or his leptin level or his hunger, or is he eating out of boredom or entertainment or anxiety or stress? You know, and picturing for as a human, what would be natural and normal if we didn't have food within a 5-foot reach at any moment on any given day? It's really kind of interesting to think of it from that perspective. That, and then when you think about all of the addictive foods that were put into our food system and how highly toxic and inflammatory they are. Oh, it's so pretty. So yeah, it's not the same turquoise blue of Florida where I just was for a couple weeks, but it's amazing here too, and home sweet home for me, at least for now. All right, I am going to, I know I just went on that long little talk about, oh, well, so wait, before I get to, hey, thanks for joining. You know, sustainability. Okay, some people might say, well, it might be great for now, but really, I can't do that forever. And I say to that, really? You don't want to feel great forever? You don't want to be at optimal health and off meds and no diseases forever? I do. People say, that gets boring. How could you possibly eat meat and only meat and eggs and seafood for the rest of your life? I don't know. It's delicious. Every meal is delicious. I'm not bored. I don't feel that I am restricted. I feel that I'm free. I'm free from having to deal with eating those toxic addictive foods. Yes, it is totally sustainable for me. People say, don't you miss ice cream? All right, yeah, ice cream was a big favorite, but heck, I remember what it tastes like. I remember eating it. I remember everything about it. I remember scraping my spoon around the edge that was melting. I remember standing in front of the freezer section of the grocery store, agonizing over the decision of what flavor to get. Yeah, I remember. Who cares? It's a, you know, it's a whole bunch of chemical glop. Sugar, addictive, inflammatory. It's a big fat no. I don't feel sorry for myself that I don't eat ice cream anymore. I feel happy that I know better than to put it in my body. It's okay. It's okay to miss it. So have a little funeral for your friend. This is annoying. I should have brought a hair tie. Dang. Oh well. But yeah, it is sustainable. And I'm gonna say, you know, for people like me, and there's Kelly Hogan doing it, she'll have her 14-year Carniversary, I think, in October. I said that she and I should do a 15-year celebration and have a meetup. But yeah, you know, if there's something that should be or would be going wrong because of eating meat, seafood, eggs, and some dairy, don't you think it would have gone wrong within 14 years? I mean, that's the way I look at it. Not that I was making myself an experiment, but the further I got into this, the longer I did it, the longer I saw more and more and more success stories from others on top of my own. It's like, this thing's magical, and we've been bamboozled all this time to thinking that we need to eat lots of fiber and grains and whole grains, brown rice instead of white rice, and whole wheat bread, and lots of fruits and vegetables. Nope, nope, nope. No, big fat no. And then as you go on, you realize more and more, wow, I'm actually supposed to really do the opposite of what I'm being told. So, all right, let me look and, thanks, Dolores. Dolores says, I'm doing this better now. I love your beach walk. I gave up coffee and Diet Pepsi for about 3 weeks now. Gosh, Dolores, I'm so thrilled. I hope maybe I was a little tiny part of that. Cold turkey. I know I've done a lot of damage through the years, but I got this. Thanks. Yeah, and here's the thing. Every day, every single day, we have the opportunity to get better and to heal. Or we have the opportunity to sink back into the ditch, give into the junk, and what? Become inflamed, sore joints, autoimmune issues, skin issues, gut issues. I could go on. And I say, everybody ends up saying, gosh, I wish I would have found this earlier. I wish I would have known about this when I was 5 years old. Wish my parents would have known about this. So, yeah, every single day, just remember, is another day to get better and heal. All right, let me go back and read a couple of these. Colleen says, my GP wanted to consider a statin. So you got a new doctor. Perfect. That's the perfect thing to do. Oh, hi, Tammy in North Carolina. Thanks, Heidi. Do you ever wonder how your health would be now if you had not done this? Marnie Mac, I seriously think there was a potential I would not be here. I was that far down a deep, dark hole that I couldn't get out of being in an uncontrollable drive to keep binging all that garbage food. I stopped so many times. Tomorrow's day one, and I could maybe last a week or two, and then I'd be back in the ditch. And there were times that I thought that I am really going to kill myself. And so, yeah, to think about where I would be now, 14 years, if I had still been in that same kind of scenario and not found this, I hate to think of where I'd be. I'm going to say for sure diabetic, and yeah, I can't even imagine. Luckily, I don't have to contemplate that unless somebody throws a question like that at me. Yeah, that was interesting though, because can't imagine. Donna Glosser says, a doctor on YouTube yesterday that carnivore and keto diet is really bad and we should be concerned about cancer. Yeah, well, I'm actually so happy that between eating this way and, in my mind, throwing in some, and I'm not sure yet because I haven't found the manual on this yet either, but throwing in some sporadic, intermittent type of fasting, whether it's a 72-hour fast once a month or once a quarter, and maybe a 36-hour fast every other week, something like that. I just really feel there's huge benefits to going a length of time, more than 24 hours, of not putting food in, and that there's extremely good evidence that we can actually prevent cancer, and that there's thoughts that cancer cells are constantly forming and getting knocked out by our body, and it's not something that's just black or white. All of a sudden it's there and it grows. And I really do believe eating this way is, of course I can't say anything for sure, but all right, so what could somebody say against me for saying I feel like this is the ideal way for preventing cancer? I mean, heck, people who are stage 4 cancer, who go on that PKD, Paleolithic Ketogenic diet over in Hungary, and they're reversing stage 4 cancers without radiation and chemo. What's for me to think that if it's resolving it in people, that it won't prevent it in others? But I know they're going to be the opposite. Oh, you got to eat whole food, plant-based for healing and cancer. And hey, that's great if that's what your research and your beliefs have led you to do. It's not mine. There's, I don't know, I forget, there's like at least 60 carcinogens in plant vegetable matter. I get it, you guys. I'm no different with getting bombarded with conflicting information, just like you. And it really, I at least have the advantage, well, maybe a part advantage of being medically minded to go further into some of the research. But you know, these dietary studies and research that's done, you know, these things are, what are they done on? They're done on people that are eating bread and pasta and rice and pizza and hoagies and French fries. So how is that of any value to me? And maybe those people that eat that way, that are put on a vegetable, plant-based, heavy way of eating, then improve somewhat in their health markers. Why? Because at least if you're eating broccoli and carrots and salad instead of pizza and fries and ice cream, there would be a big improvement. But again, I've given up on thinking that there's actually going to be a valid study, because you're not going to get a large group of let's say people. So yeah, let's do a study of me, Sean Baker, Anthony Chafee, Kelly Hogan, Dr. Kiltz, Charles Washington, Dana Spencer, Amber O'Hearn. I'm trying to throw out the names of, you know, some long-term or carnivores, and let's do a study. Let's let's look at the health markers of 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I'm pretty convinced I'll still be walking the beach and walking and talking on my 20-year carniversary. So there's that, but I don't know. I guess that remains to be seen whether I'll be still in perfect health, flipping cartwheels on the beach or not. But I'm gonna put my money on me. All right, let me go into the comments. Let's see. Adelita says I do at least 72-hour fast monthly. Wow. So yeah, and you know, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I will definitely let you know what I do, and you can tag along with my experiment, because we're all an experiment. N equals 1. That's a, you know, it's kind of like this famous experiment nomenclature that I'm the N equals 1 of my own life, and you know, certain things work out well, certain things don't, but it could be based also on my own personal background and experience and relationship with food, but at least getting as much information as we can by sharing in the community. That's why, one of the many reasons I love so much of my groups that I host, is we're in there, we're all talking about what's worked, what doesn't work, why we feel certain ways around certain foods, and how we deal with certain situations. And it's just a great way. I feel like if any of you out there are in a sort of solitary bubble of finding this and doing this, and you've got family, friends, and coworkers around you that are basically thinking you're nuts, maybe without saying it, but I think that just finding your people, hang out with them for an hour each week, and you'll see how much of a difference it makes. Yeah, hiker girl, 14 years. I can't even believe it. Okay, Lori Blackwell says, I am so living life, only 67 days being a carnivore, but I have never felt so better and look better, have received more compliments in the last 2 weeks than the last 10 years. Yeah, it's amazing. Even just, there's something about with inflammation. I think I should turn around. This way I can have my hair blowing away from my face. There's something about the inflammation that goes away, the, you don't get to see water. And even recomposition, even if there's not weight loss on the scale, there are changes, and I'm just so convinced that your body gets so happy once you get rid of those toxins and you fill it with nutrient-dense meat, organs, seafood, eggs. I like to just kind of throw that out there because I have a love-hate relationship with cheese. So I don't really like to throw that in the mix, because for most people who are trying to lose weight, it's ideal to drop the cheese. For those people who have issues with inflammation, autoimmune, I say drop the cheese. There's a lot of reasons to drop the cheese. It's got casomorphines in it that are addictive. They call out my name from inside that fridge. Brings me back to my bad memories of, I don't want to be addicted to anything. But I'm always very quick to say, cheese helped me so much transition into this, and I really don't think I could have made it without my cheese. So, and I'm not dogmatic about it. I'm actually going to make a really cool, I think on my Tuesday night live, I am going to, because it's getting close to St. Patrick's Day, and I'm not Irish, I'm half Danish, half German, but I do happen to like corned beef, and I'm going to make a corned beef and Swiss, or corned beef and Gruyere and Havarti quiche, crustless of course, but I think the bottom lining of the pie pan is going to be thin sliced boar's head, pastrami or corned beef, haven't decided yet, and then I'm going to make my mixture that I will make right on the live for the quiche, the crustless quiche, but it's going to be a meat crust quiche. And if I time it properly, I'm going to make one ahead of time, have it baking in the oven while I'm mixing and making and showing the process of making the other. And then right after I pour it in the I plate it into the pie pan, I put that one in the oven while I take the finished one out. Ta-da! It's amazing. And I think that'll be a fun kind of St. Patrick's Day. That's really the only time of the year I make or eat corned beef, but I really like it. But you know, it goes on sale for like $1.99 a pound the week before St. Patrick's Day, so it's all right. It's all right to use that as an annual treat. Okay. Christina says, I'm trying to make my little brother start eating the carnivore diet. He's fit, but he's having these nasty colds so often. Yeah, I mean, garbage diet equals garbage immunity and equals lots of susceptibility to catching bugs and viruses. Hello, Catherine in West Virginia. Yes, doing it solo here. Colleen Brown says, oh, hi, Colleen. Hubs eats all the carbs and rubbish. Yeah, and then some people, it's very, very hard being in that situation. And I was just talking with a couple people in my group last night, and I was saying, because she was saying that there's pretzels and all this stuff, and she succumbs to the snacking at night. And she also was at a wedding and allowed herself a piece of cake, and not only did she have one, but she ended up having 3 because I think because she felt she had been abstaining for quite a while and kind of went deep in the ditch. And I said, look, you really have to think long and hard about your relationship with that food. And don't think of it as I can't have it. Say, I'm choosing not to have it. I know how toxic and inflammatory and addictive that is. It's not my food anymore, and I'm done with it. And if you're not, you're just going to perpetually keep doing that exact thing, which is stopping and then letting yourself go, and then trying to climb back out of that, staying good for a bit, and then going back in. And you have to really, it has to come down to understanding your exact why you're doing this, and that it's abstinence, and it's not something that you can just keep negotiating with yourself, because you know who's going to win. You've experienced who wins over and over and over again your entire life. So Kevin, let's see. Kevin Hess, curiously, I seem to be more tired with less energy since doing carnivore keto. I have very little carbs now, and that is less than 5 carbs a day. I have actually even put on about 1 to 2 kilos. All right, so I'm going to assume you didn't want to put on 1 to 2 kilos, because that's another question that pops up. I actually have people who write to me and say they're actually a little underweight and they're afraid of doing carnivore because they heard it is all about losing weight. And I said, no, it's not at all about losing weight. It's all about getting you to your ideal lean, healthy weight, whether that means putting on weight or losing weight. But let's assume, Kevin, that you, from the way you worded that, that you're actually wanting to lose. So here's the thing. Go 100% carnivore. Pay attention to what you're eating, when you're eating it, and are you eating for entertainment, or are you purely just having, I always say 2 meals a day seems to be what, I don't know, I guess from being in this so many years and my own experience, seems to be really pretty ideal. Plus it's easier as far as not making snacks, not doing a 3rd meal. But I think that there's a lot of factors that come into play. Your stress levels, your sleep, your amount of activity. There's no reason why you should be slumping, not having energy. I would bump up the fat, pay attention and track, see how many grams of protein you're eating. Are you eating, I don't know how tall you are or how old you are, or how potentially metabolically unhealthy you are at this point, how insulin resistant you might be. Look at your blood work. Is your fasting insulin under 5? You really want fasting insulin under 5. You want your A1C down below 5.2. If any of those things are messed up, that's going to have to heal before your body's going to release weight. Remember, insulin is a hormone, and insulin is the hormone that's responsible for the storage of fat. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors. That's sometimes it's hard when I get, I don't know, between 100 and 200 DM messages on Instagram every day. I try to go into my YouTube channel and respond and answer to questions every day, but a lot of them I can't answer, and I hope people don't think I'm coming across as a marketer for my groups, but I need to talk back and forth with you about a lot of different factors. So I say, come in my group, talk with me every week. I keep the group small. Everybody can talk and ask questions, and that's the way to work through things. So, all right. Wow, 7 years before Baker was on Rogan. Amazing. Was that 7 years ago? No, it wasn't 7 years ago. I'm not really sure. Do you know of any eye drops that help with dry eyes? Paul, yeah, so the best thing to help with dry eyes that I've found, because I've had a lot of different people resolve their dry eye issues with eating this way, make sure it's high enough fat. I recommend trying an 80-20 protocol if you have dry eye autoimmune issues. But the bottom line is you have to stick with it long enough. You know, after 6 months, see if there's a change, if there's an improvement. In the meantime, yeah, I guess Sustain makes an omega-3 lubricant tier, and I'm trying to think, there's another one. I think Blink put out an omega-3 one too, so try those. But bottom line is we don't want to be dependent on any eye drops, and our bodies are fully capable with this extremely complex, amazing mechanism of sebum oil in our lid meibomian glands, which creates the outermost layer of our tears to prevent them from evaporating. We have lacrimal glands that make the aqueous center part of the tear film. Tear film has 3 layers to it. It's really very, very complex. But again, our bodies have an amazing ability to get screwed up by seed oils, processed food, sugar, and junk. And they have an equally amazing ability to reverse that damage. So, trying to get the glare off of the screen so I can read. So Holly says she feels amazing and off blood pressure meds, eczema gone, thyroid great, lost 60 pounds. It's definitely the proper human diet. Yeah, and really once you understand that and realize that, it doesn't matter how many naysayers at whatever party or family function or work or casual out with friends, none of that matters, because you know what? I really don't give a shit what anybody thinks about what I chew and swallow. I mean, what does it really matter? They didn't care. They weren't concerned when I was having milkshakes and fries and donuts and cookies and ice cream and pizza and nachos grande. They didn't care. Nobody said a word. But now all of a sudden, when it's meat, seafood, organs, eggs, and some dairy, now all of a sudden people are freaking out that you're going to have a heart attack. Really? So interesting, really. Jenna says, hi, new to your channel. I tried your fried cheese snacks last night. Yum. Yeah, so good. So greatly helped me getting through the cravings. FCAT says, thanks, awesome content. 17 months carnivore, 115 pounds lost. I love reading this stuff. You just have to make the decision and stick with it. Holly, you're not an old lady. Holly says, I use Keto Chow mineral drops that have iodine in them now. Yeah, a lot of people find that supplementing iodine, they actually notice a difference. I did that. Judy Cho on one of her YouTubes has the iodine tincture that you rub a spot on your inner forearm, and you time and see how many hours it stays visible versus disappears, and if it disappears before 12 hours, you're iodine deficient and all that. But then I've also gone on and looked very specifically at symptoms of iodine deficiency, low iodine. I have none of them, but heck, I was like, what does it hurt to try throw a couple drops of Lugol's 2% in my nog drink every so often. Now I just don't even bother because I went 14 years without doing it. Why do I feel the need to do it now? And I didn't notice any difference, but some people do. So I'm not saying anything against it, because there's certain things like magnesium and copper and zinc that people feel they need to supplement with. I'm just not sold on the bioavailability of synthetic supplements, synthetic vitamins. Like, is your body making the identical vitamin D that it makes from the sun on the skin, converts cholesterol to vitamin D, which is a hormone? Is that really the same as popping that vitamin D pill that sits in your stomach acid and dissolves? And I think that, I don't know, I've been really looking into that. I'm not a fan of synthetic vitamins. So, does iodine in your drink stain your teeth? Good question. Holly says not mine. I'd say for sure not mine. You know, when you put 3 drops in, 8-10 ounces of a drink, but it's a good question. I don't have an answer for that, but my teeth are white. But I maybe once a week I might drop it in my nog drink if I see it or remember it. I take D3 because I live in cold weather. All right, so Jenna, there is actually some really interesting, very deeply scientific podcasts by vitamin D experts that go into great detail about the type of vitamin D supplement, 𝗙𝗓𝗓𝗢𝗓 versus D-OH3 versus and there's some pro forms that need to be then converted. It's a pro form in the pill. As far as I've uncovered, there's really only one synthetically made vitamin D that, even though the others will show an increase in the blood marker that they test, that it's not the vitamin D that your body needs and makes from the sun. And there is this one supplement form, this one version of vitamin D. I'll put a link to it in this, because I did purchase it off of Amazon. There's only one on there, and there's one sold in the UK, and there's one sold, I think it's still available in the US on Amazon. But I purchased it because the beginning of COVID, I got what I call my warrior ready kit, and that was one thing that I made sure I had, and just who knows, what I was going to do with it. I know there's a mega dose and all that, but in any case, I did get that specific version of vitamin D. So if anybody's curious what it is and wants to look into it, I'll put the link. You'll see exactly what it is, and then you can look at the studies. Is it important to drink mineral water with the carnivore diet? It's really interesting. I get so many different questions like this, and again, the problem is conflicting information. I have a reverse osmosis system. It's a tankless one because I didn't want a plastic tank under my kitchen sink holding my nice filtered water. So I went under the recommendation of Dr. Anthony J. I love listening to his presentations and interviews and trust his opinion on these things, since he's the 𝗟𝗔𝗩𝗢𝗥𝗜𝗧𝗘, the expert on all these phthalates. But then you listen to Judy Cho, and I forget, there's something not so great about reverse osmosis water. And then there's, oh my gosh, there's all, you know, there's the deuterium, there's the, again, now here's my reply. I'm here 14 years into carnivore. I will say perfectly healthy, at least to my knowledge. And what have I been drinking this whole time? Pretty much reverse osmosis water I had in my home when I was married. I put here into my condo. I drink reverse osmosis water. If I'm out, like when I went to the hotel in Florida, I went to the store, I bought Mountain Valley. I try to get the water that's in the glass. And yeah, I don't know. I don't like to think that we're doing water right or wrong. You know what I'm doing right? I'm not eating cookies and ice cream and pizza and fries. That's what I'm doing right. And if we're just fine-tuning and tweaking our level of awesomeness, then yeah, go down the rabbit hole with distilled water versus mineral water versus reverse osmosis. Some people like to drink that Gerald Steiner water, some Pellegrino. You know, I'm really so happy to not project out here that you need to do any. Only thing I'm gonna say, don't drink tap water, and try really hard to not drink water out of a plastic bottle. Obviously there's certain times where somehow that does happen, but we all should be so aware of not drinking that. Holly says Topo Chico. Yeah, I like Topo Chico. But then again, here we go. There'll all of a sudden be a conflicting opinion, and somebody puts out a video about here's the 8 most popular seltzer and sparkling waters and why you should not be drinking them. And this sort of takes a little air out of the balloon, right? But, you know, again, just make it simple. Don't overthink it. And just day after day, try to do the best you can. If you have time to do some further research about certain things that are a concern to you, then there's plenty of information out there. A lot of conflicting information, but there's a lot of information. So Sarbear says, your taste and smell is weird since getting COVID. What helps to get them back to normal? Ah, yeah. You know what? I'm going to have to look for you. I just came across a really interesting article about the best way to detoxify from both COVID, you know, the long haulers syndrome, and the jab, if some of you either took it voluntarily, not knowing at the time, or were forced to take it to try to do the best to detoxify from that. But I'm going to look, because I know there was some protocol. I don't know whether if it involved charcoal, or I'll have to look for it. Let's see. I have a reverse osmosis filter plus deionization resin to give 0 TDS, then remineralize with pink Himalayan or Celtic sea salt. Yeah, that's, you know, some people make that soul water. Water is such a very interesting topic that could talk hours just about water, and then we could put a whole kibosh on the topic, because we could talk about how some powers that be are going to work hard at poisoning our water supply and forcing different scenarios and situations based on that, because, you know, without water we're screwed. We can only last 7 days without water, and how many of us actually have the ability to make our own water or have our own water, fresh water? And even if you have a stream, they can explode a chemical factory in a heartbeat and poison it. So we don't have to go down that rabbit hole, because that's a whole different scenario. Let's see. Hi Lisa, any advice on how to help adult daughter who is very overweight but does not want to talk about her diet? Yeah, that's a tough one. That's called leading by example. I always think one of the best things for teenagers is if they have acne, because that's usually a very debilitating, they get so self-conscious about it and want in the worst way for that to go away. And we all know there's no pills, creams, lotions, or potions that help that, but carnivore will completely cure it. So I always hope so I can hope maybe your daughter has that, and then go show her the before and after pictures on my Instagram. If you scroll almost to the very beginning of where I posted, I don't have that many posts, maybe like 300, but you can scroll through that fast. Near the beginning, I have a before picture and a 2 weeks into quitting sugar and flour and grains, and it's just a remarkable difference. And I always hope that there will be teens who take to it just for that reason. But I don't know, maybe you're gonna tell me she's got a perfect complexion, and then you're gonna, you know, it's tough, especially at that age. It's my old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make her carnivore. It's just, it's really difficult, because, you know, ultimately we all have our power, our own power. We're under our own devices to choose the food, make the food, eat the food, swallow the food. Now, you could say she is not buying the food or paying the food bill, and unless you had full control of the family's diet, which would include, I guess, the spouse and any other siblings who might not be overweight, but it doesn't matter. They should still be eating this way. Their bodies just didn't happen to become inflamed and insulin resistant, but there's other issues that maybe they've got the starts of IBS, or you know, the starts of joint inflammation that they just don't have symptoms of yet. They just didn't get fat. That's not how their body expressed it. So, but, you know, and then it's tough, because you could say, well, you have control over what you buy and bring into the kitchen, but kids always eat out, and they're with their friends, they're doing sleepovers, baking brownies, and out for pizza, and unless she really is interested on her own to make a change, she's not going to make a change in my experience. So hopefully, just leading by example, she will get to that point where maybe she'll try it. I heard Montana will make it illegal to donate blood if you receive the jab. Yeah. Christopher says, yikes, I didn't think I was asking such an adverse question. I just thought mineral water like Pellegrino has certain elements in it like magnesium, so it would be digestible. Yeah, I mean, I don't really look at in terms of digestible or indigestible as far as water and minerals. I think that, yeah, mineral water is great. Mix it in with all the other waters that you might drink during the day or during the week. Just keep thinking to yourself, keep it simple, make it simple. The simpler the better. And I get it. The difficulty is all the conflicting things that are in our face every day, especially if you come on here because out of curiosity to keep learning more, we also keep getting more and more conflicting information. So I don't have the answer because there's no manual. Nobody really has the answer. Your N=1 is going to be your answer. There's a very effective slimming jab available here in the UK now. It's the one used by Elon Musk, but it only lasts as long as you keep taking the jab, not a long-term solution. Yeah, that's probably that GLP-1 stuff. Sounds like Ozempic. There's lots of different names for it. Wegovy and Mounjaro. But I say stay far away from that stuff. What's the long-term strategy of it? If it works short-term, and from what I understand, from what I have looked into it, is it actually makes you more insulin resistant because of the mechanism of how it's working. Ultimately, when you stop taking it, the weight will come back on with a vengeance. So that, and there's a lot of side effects to it. And why are we doing this? You have to ultimately learn how, saving for my, well, I might have a fire in my fireplace, so I always like to grab some driftwood on my way in. Yeah, you have to think, what's the long-term strategy here? Whatever you do that allows you to get down to a certain weight is what you need to keep doing to stay down at that weight. I mean, we have to understand the law of physics here. You can't get down there, stop whatever it is that you were doing that got you down there, and then think that all's going to be fine. And, you know, I like to say, ultimately, calories do matter. So there might be a point where you have to track for a bit and pay attention and understand maybe we're eating out of emotions, and maybe we're eating for entertainment, and maybe we're not eating the right combination. Maybe it's too much protein, not enough fat. Maybe it's too much fat and just the right protein. Again, N=1. All right, I am going to sign off, finish my walk at a very high pace, and I'll catch you guys Tuesday. Hopefully I'll have my act together and do the St. Patty's Day corned beef and Swiss or Gruyere crustless quiche. So join me Tuesday. All right, see you next time.